Imagine hiring a professional surveyor to finally settle a long-running property line dispute, only to have your efforts completely undone by someone who thinks they're above the rules. In today's story from the Entitled People subreddit, we're diving into the chaos caused by one very bold HOA Karen. She didn't just complain about the new survey stakes. She took matters into her own hands and physically removed them, believing she knew better than actual legal property records. Yep, you've heard that right. A neighbor so entitled, she thought she could just erase the truth by yanking up boundary markers. At first, the homeowner was baffled. Stakes disappearing overnight. Maybe a mistake, maybe vandalism, but no one expected it to escalate like it did. Cameras were set up, and soon enough, the truth came out, and it was way worse than anyone imagined. What Karen did next not only crossed the line socially, it crossed a very serious legal line too. But when confronted, did Karen back down? Of course not. Her reaction turned everything into a full-blown disaster that would leave her facing real consequences, ones that no amount of HOA connections could save her from. Stick around, because things are about to get even more unbelievable as we break down exactly how this entitled neighbor's plan completely backfired. The story really started a few months earlier, when the homeowner noticed their neighbor, our infamous HOA Karen, getting more and more aggressive about the shared property line. She constantly complained about imaginary boundary issues, claiming parts of the homeowner's yard actually belonged to her. After getting tired of the endless arguments, the homeowner decided to do the smart thing. They hired a licensed surveyor to officially mark the property lines with survey stakes. It should have ended the debate once and for all. But of course, that's not how Karen saw it. The moment the bright-colored stakes appeared in the ground, Karen lost it. She stormed over, waving her arms and shouting about fake stakes and illegal land grabs. Neighbors started peeking out their windows, curious about all the noise. Karen argued that she knew the real boundaries because she had lived in the neighborhood longer, completely ignoring the very real, very official survey results. It was clear she wasn't going to accept any answer that didn't go her way. Not long after, the stakes started disappearing, one by one. At first, the homeowner thought it might be kids messing around, or maybe even an accident, but something didn't add up. Why were only the stakes near Karen's property missing? And why did it seem to happen right after one of her loud, angry outbursts? Suspicious and frustrated, the homeowner decided it was time to gather proof. They set up a small security camera facing the survey stakes closest to Karen's yard. A few days passed with nothing unusual, but then late one evening, the footage caught exactly what they feared. Clear as day, there was Karen, marching across the lawn, yanking out the survey stakes like they were weeds. She didn't even try to be sneaky about it. She was muttering angrily to herself, tossing the stakes over her fence like they were trash. The homeowner couldn't believe it. This wasn't just an argument anymore. It was property tampering, something that could lead to serious legal trouble. With the evidence in hand, they decided it was time to bring it to the HOA board. But here's where things got even messier. Karen wasn't just any neighbor. She had a lot of influence in the HOA. Friends in high places, people who owed her favors. When the homeowner presented the footage, some board members actually tried brushing it off, calling it a misunderstanding, or suggesting it could be handled privately. Meanwhile, other neighbors, who had their own horror stories about Karen's behavior, started quietly siding with the homeowner. Whispers spread. Some even mentioned that Karen had a history of overstepping boundaries, literally and figuratively. But what would happen next was even more explosive. With tensions rising and the HOA clearly divided, the homeowner knew they couldn't just sit back and hope for the best. They decided to take things to the next level by filing an official police report for property tampering. It wasn't just about the stakes anymore. It was about standing up to someone who thought the rules didn't apply to her. When the officers reviewed the security footage, their reactions said it all. They agreed it was clear evidence of intentional tampering with legal survey markers, something taken very seriously under local property laws. Word spread like wildfire around the neighborhood. Some people were thrilled that Karen was finally being held accountable, while others, especially her close friends in the HOA, were trying to downplay the whole thing, acting like it was just a miscommunication. Karen herself, true to form, doubled down instead of backing off. She even showed up at the homeowner's door, demanding they drop it, and threatening to make life very difficult if they didn't. It was obvious she wasn't just worried, she was desperate. The tension in the neighborhood was at a boiling point. Every glance, every HOA meeting, every walk down the street felt heavy. People waited to see what would happen next. Would Karen finally face real consequences, or would her connections bail her out once again? Everything was hanging by a thread. Just when it seemed like the situation couldn't get any worse, another twist flipped everything upside down. As the police continued their investigation, they uncovered something that nobody expected, not even the homeowner. It turned out Karen hadn't just tampered with this one property's survey stakes. After speaking with other neighbors and reviewing old complaints, it became clear that Karen had a long-running pattern of crossing property lines and interfering with multiple land surveys around the neighborhood. Some stakes had been pulled, others mysteriously moved, and a few neighbors even mentioned that Karen had pressured them to adjust their fences without ever checking real records. This wasn't just one isolated case anymore. This was a clear pattern of boundary tampering, and with the new evidence piling up, the police started treating the situation a lot more seriously. Meanwhile, the HOA board was now under pressure too, especially since it looked like some members might have helped cover up previous complaints to protect Karen. People who once defended her were now scrambling, trying to distance themselves from the mess. The neighborhood, once quiet and tight-knit, felt like it was ready to split apart. Long-time friendships were strained, secret alliances were exposed, and even simple conversations at the mailbox felt loaded with tension. Everyone could feel it, something big was coming, and there was no way to stop it now. The breaking point came on a warm afternoon when officers arrived at Karen's door with a warrant. Neighbors peeked through curtains and stood quietly on their porches as they watched her get handcuffed and led away, accused of multiple counts of property tampering. It wasn't just about one set of survey stakes anymore. It was about a long history of ignoring property laws and stepping on everyone else's rights. The homeowner finally felt a weight lift off their shoulders, seeing that justice was being served, and many others in the neighborhood quietly celebrated too. The HOA board, embarrassed by how much they had tried to brush things under the rug, held an emergency meeting. Karen's friends tried to downplay it, but the damage was done. New elections were announced, and a wave of change swept through the neighborhood. For the first time in years, people felt like they could actually speak up without being steamrolled by Karen's influence. But just when everyone thought the story had finally reached its end, another twist dropped. Karen, still defiant, filed a bizarre civil complaint from jail, claiming she was the real victim of harassment. It was quickly thrown out in court, but it left the entire neighborhood shaking their heads. Even in the face of clear evidence and real consequences, Karen just couldn't let go of the idea that she was above the rules. After Karen's final desperate attempt failed in court, the neighborhood finally started to breathe again. The homeowner repaired the damaged survey stakes with help from a few grateful neighbors, and new property lines were respected without any more drama. The HOA, now under new leadership, made sure to put stronger rules in place about property boundaries and neighbor disputes, hoping to prevent anything like this from ever happening again. It was clear that while Karen had caused a lot of stress, she had also unknowingly brought the community closer together. People who once kept to themselves were now sharing laughs over the craziness they had all lived through. Neighbors who were too afraid to speak out before found their voices, and the homeowner. They finally had the peace of mind they deserved, knowing their property and their rights were protected. In the end, the story wasn't just about an entitled HOA Karen pulling survey stakes. It was about standing up for yourself when you're being pushed around, trusting the truth to come out, and learning that even the loudest, most entitled people can't escape consequences forever. Thanks for sticking around for this wild ride. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more unbelievable stories just like this one.